Tyreek Hill has been traded to the Miami Dolphins. How much does that hurt his dynasty stock, along with Jalen Waddle? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Mosher and Kate Magdziuk.
Welcome into the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I am Kate Magdziuk. You could follow me on Twitter at FFBallblast. And of course, as always, I'm joined by Mosher. You could follow him on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Give the show a follow. Never miss a beat. Be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast because, you need to keep up with the news. And you need to keep up with the news and how this news is so drastically impacting your dynasty teams, because we got a big trade this week, guys, and we want to break everything down. Tyreek Hill traded from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Miami Dolphins. There's obviously huge ramifications, both on the Chiefs side and from the Miami Dolphins side. So let's start to talk about that. Marcus, what was your initial reaction? Were you surprised at all?
Yeah, I was, because I just thought Tyreek Hill with Patrick Mahomes and that offense was such a perfect fit. And I gotta be honest, Kate, I'm pretty bummed. As somebody who has Tyreek in a bunch of leagues, I think this is a significant downgrade, because for me, I was valuing him as the wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 in Dynasty. We've actually talked about this a bunch on the show because he was attached to a great quarterback and a great offense, and his role was so locked in. He was basically a lock for 90 total yards a game, a pretty good bet to score a touchdown. And now what is he in Miami? I think he's still going to be good. He's going to be effective, but what do you think? How far should we drop him? Because I saw him just a couple days ago on Dynasty League Football. He was wide receiver 6. He's already dropped to wide receiver 10. Do you think it's going to drop even further?
I think he could. And I think a lot of that stems from volume concern. But I'm not totally convinced that it's as big a downgrade as we should think it is. We know that Tyreek Hill is elite. We know he's a capable receiver downfield, more than capable. One of the most talented wide receivers down the field in the NFL. He's had the most, by a very large margin, most 40-yard receiving touchdowns in the NFL, 21 since the 2016 season. And next up is Tyler Lockett with 12. He has almost twice the number. We know that he can do damage downfield, but I think the really beautiful thing that we saw this year is that Tyreek Hill doesn't necessarily need all of that oomph on the ball. We saw a drop in his average depth of target by almost 2 yards, over 2 yards from last season. And guess what? He still put up 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns. He can do it after the catch.
Yeah, he can. But the problem is the touchdowns, right? We saw in 2020, he had 17 touchdowns. 2018, when he played the full season, 13 touchdowns. Unless Tua just turns into a superstar, I have a hard time believing he's going to hit double-digit touchdowns again.
Was Tua not projected to be a superstar before this injury?
Yes, but this is a debate I have with myself all the time: is how
often do you debate yourself?
A lot. I mean, listen, I'm home by myself all day long, so it's just me and my dog. So I think about all this kind of stuff. But it's Tua was this elite prospect before the hip injury. Just how much has the hip injury kind of zapped some of the arm strength and athleticism? I don't know, and I don't know if it's ever going to come back.
I mean, despite the fact that he had this, I think Tua has this reputation of not throwing the ball, not being able to sling the ball, not being able to do any damage down the field. At Alabama in his final season, he did lots of damage down the field. Had 704 yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on passes of 20 or more yards. And that was in 9 games. That wasn't even a full season. He did lots of damage. Now, obviously, we've seen that production decrease in the NFL post-injury. But I think we would probably all agree that are any of the wide receivers that he played with, maybe outside of Jalen Waddle, who was still coming off of a pretty significant foot
Yeah.
injury that we weren't
Yeah.
even sure that he would be totally ready for the season. Would you argue that he had adequate weapons to necessarily push the ball downfield?
I mean, he did
Because
have
now he
Waddle.
does.
Yeah, now he does. I mean, here's the best thing from a real life perspective for the Dolphins is this move is going to let you know for sure, definitively, if Tua is the answer or not, right? Like if Tua still struggles and he's not pushing the ball down the field and the offense is just kind of puttering along, they got to move on. But if this all of a sudden unlocks Tua, then the trade is easily worth it tenfold, right? So that's why I love it for the Dolphins. I don't love it for Jalen Waddle, though, Kate, because Waddle's game last year was so predicated on volume, right? He had over 100 receptions. I think he could be a little bit more efficient with Tyreek now on the team, but do you worry about him just not seeing the same target volume that we saw last year?
I do worry a little bit, but I think I do think that the efficiency is going to help him there. Tua is a very capable passer. Like he is able to deliver an accurate ball. I think Jalen Waddle, especially another season removed from his injury, like this is going to be presumably a healthy team, a very healthy team coming into the 2022 season. Uh, you know, Offensive line up, this
Big
entire
upgrade.
team is just coming together. And like you said, the Dolphins are going to know this season if Tua is their future. If he's not, they have 2 first-round picks next year to
Yep.
figure out what their next move is or move up or whatever they want to do. But I mean, Tua, I don't think you know what you got out of him at number 5, especially in the midst of this injury and his return from that injury until you do what they just did and surround him with weapons. But
Yep.
I think the good thing about this entire offseason for the Miami Dolphins has been their investment in the past. But
Mm-hmm.
we saw minimal investment in the run. I don't think they're going to continue to chase the run.
They'll be fine. Mike McDaniel will be
Pun
fine.
intended.
They'll be fine there.
Yeah, they'll be fine, but they didn't make the significant investment in the run that they did in the past with the
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill trade.
I mean, and it's not just a Tyreek trade. Like they signed Mike Gesicki to a franchise tag. They brought back Durham Smythe, their second tight end. They paid Cedric Wilson. I mean, they put a lot of weapons. They paid Teron Armstead, the best left tackle in free agency. They paid Connor Williams, a pretty good left guard. Like they are all in on trying to make this offense better because they know if they can't get Tua to develop into a franchise quarterback, they have no shot in the AFC. So they're doing everything to put the right pieces around him to help him grow. And if he can't do it this year, they're going to move on. One last question on the Dolphins before we move on. Just for this year, for 2022, who would you rather have, Jalen Waddle, or Tyreek Hill?
Just for 2022?
Just for 2022.
I think I still got to go with Tyreek. I think just better. A better knowledge base of what he brings. We know he has. We've seen more versatility from his play in the NFL. I think their skill sets complement each other really well. You're just getting 2 guys that can take it up a notch, make plays after the catch. But I'll take Tyreek, who's just the more veteran wide receiver.
I'll take Waddle. I think he's an ascending star, and I think he's a
He is
little
an
bit.
ascending star. I agree.
I think he's a little bit better doing some of the stuff behind the line of scrimmage with the ball in his hands. I think Tyreek is the better route runner. He's the more polished receiver. I just kind of think if you're looking at Mike McDaniel and trying to figure out which guy best suits the Deebo Samuel role, I think it's probably Waddle.
Okay.
We'll see. Am I crazy for thinking that Tyreek Hill is going to be like a middling wide receiver 2 this year? Am I too
Yep.
low? I
Yep.
listen, I love Tyreek, but is that too low?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yep.
I'll be happy to be wrong on that one. All right, let's take a quick break so I can tell you guys about Bet Online. It's that time of year again as college basketball season and tournament season is finally upon us. From all of the latest odds, contests, and player props, BetOnline.net is the number one source for all of your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering needs, including live betting in your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we're going to talk about what the Chiefs are doing because I'm confused over there. But one more thing on the Dolphins. So they have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. My guess is that Cedric Wilson is probably going to be their slot receiver. They've got a bunch of tight ends. It sounds like Devante Parker, a former first-round pick who they signed to an extension last year, could potentially be traded. Is there any spots that you see for Parker that would make sense? Are you still buying Devante Parker? Do you believe in his talent?
I believe in his talent. I like the one place that kind of I would love to see him go to is pretty much out of the question unless he's cut because it's a divisional rival. But I keep going to the Jets
Yeah.
and thinking he'd be a nice asset for Zach Wilson, a nice veteran presence. Add some more weapons for this guy because I do think that Devante Parker, though he's not the flashiest name for fantasy, I do think that he's a wide receiver when you add him into the mix with Zach Wilson, raises his floor just a bit, but not likely unless he's traded. I guess we didn't really talk about Tua either. Like, where are
Sure.
you drafting Tua in a dynasty startup right now in relation to the other quarterbacks?
I'm still pretty
You're
low
not?
onto I'm probably not. So currently on Dynasty League Football, Tua is quarterback 16. Quarterbacks going directly behind him: Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Tom Brady. Man, I would almost think I would take all of those guys over Tua.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
You're such a Tua hater.
I know. I listen. I love Tua coming out of the draft. I probably love Tua too much, but it's just what I've seen the last couple of years doesn't give me a lot of confidence. And I think the fact that they did bring in Teddy Bridgewater and paid him, I mean, not pennies, right? I think they're going to have a quick trigger because I think Mike McDaniel wants to win. Um, quarterback
Yeah, and Teddy
16.
Bridgewater's the quarterback to do that.
No, yeah, I listen. I 100% agree. But can he give you competent quarterback play? Yes.
So can Tua.
Yeah. I hope you're right, Kate. I really, really hope you're
I'm
right because I
like
want this
so
offense to
it is
succeed.
I've said it before for the amount of pride that dynasty managers hold in themselves for having this long-term mentality when it comes to football analysis. Like we are some of the most short-sighted and like
Absolutely, we are. There's no doubt.
it the recency bias, it's just so bizarre.
I don't disagree. So let me ask you this: is quarterback 16 too low for Tua?
I think so.
Okay, so let's go.
I
Let's
mean,
go.
you've got a guy, obviously, he wasn't drafted number one overall, which why would he be coming off of that catastrophic hip injury? Um, you know, he has the potential to be a franchise guy, put weapons around him. Like, I mean, this kind of mimics the situation he had in Alabama, fill him with playmakers, and he's going to bounce back.
I hope you're right because I just think the NFL is going to be better the more franchise quarterbacks we have, and if that offense,
As if
if
we
they
need
have a
more.
competent quarterback.
We don't need more quarterbacks in the AFC, though.
I
So
disagree. Is that
ah,
NFC? Is somebody who roots for an NFC team? I disagree. Can I just say about back to Devante Parker? I'd love to see him in Chicago. I want Justin Fields to succeed,
mm.
so give him you guy that can kind of do the Allen Robinson role. You still have Darnell Mooney. I just don't love the rest of the receivers there, and I think Parker would be an upgrade over what they had last year.
A huge upgrade, yes.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some other big news. While the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill, obviously, and they signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling to a 3-year, $30 million deal with $18 million guaranteed. They also signed JuJu Smith-Schuster to a 1-year deal. They signed Corey Coleman, the former Browns and Giants receiver. Before we even get into each of one of these guys, what are the Chiefs thinking right now, Kate?
I don't know. And if you're Patrick Mahomes, you've got to be a little peeved. I'm not even going to get into the Marquez Valdes-Scantling contract versus JuJu Smith-Schuster. Not even going to touch that because I don't think you guys want to hear my irate.
Oh, we're getting there. Don't. I can't wait to get into it.
Oh my good God. But I mean, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm wondering, like, I have an aging Travis Kelce, who's still, as an aging
Good.
Travis Kelce, is one of the best tight ends in the NFL, if not the best. But I mean, you're dismantling this entire process, and just when you finally got like the offensive line together, your defense was looking so solid. Dismantling the offense in this way, I mean, not great, Bob.
Yeah. I don't get it. You are in a Super Bowl window with Patrick Mahomes, and I know I said that on Twitter the other day, and people said they're obviously going to be in a Super Bowl window for the next decade with Patrick Mahomes. Yes, that's true, but you are in peak Patrick Mahomes, right, in his prime with Tyreek or with Travis Kelce. At the twilight of his career. You've got Andy Reid. Who knows how much longer Andy Reid's going to be the coach there? Why not go for it? You were a play away last year from going to the Super Bowl for the 3rd straight season. Why dismantle that offense unless you have big plans to do something else and go out and get somebody else or change your offense? I don't really know if Marquez Valdes-Scantling and JuJu Smith-Schuster are good enough replacements, Kate.
No, and I don't think they are. And although, you know what, I do think this narrative is interesting too, because we saw sort of the Packers do the same thing with Devante Adams, dismantle their entire receiving core, and they really haven't even replaced it just yet. And I don't really feel like we're having the same discussion about. Obviously, we're all asking what the Packers are doing, but I feel like we haven't addressed what does the Packers do for Aaron Rodgers. Like, his MVP odds didn't move whatsoever after dismantling their whole offense. And we've actually seen some odds movement, in terms of their, it's a more competitive division, but their Super Bowl odds decrease. Like, we saw odds movement for the Chiefs, which I think it's interesting that we didn't see odds movement for the Packers when they're in very similar situations, but that's another podcast too. I'm just on lots of tangents today, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes, what does this do for him as a fantasy quarterback? Because he has been sort of locked and loaded. We've gone back and forth, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Does this tip the scale in favor of Josh Allen for QB1?
That's a really, really good question. No, not for me. I still trust Patrick Mahomes more to be a consistent game in and game out passer. Josh Allen, I think the ceiling is going to be a little bit higher week to week because of the rushing ability, but I just trust that Mahomes is going to get 300-ish yards and at least 2 passing touchdowns a game, and that's incredibly valuable. And that safety in the floor is really good. And I think the Chiefs will figure it out. Andy Reid has had amazing offenses before Tyreek Hill. He's going to have amazing offenses afterwards. Are they going to be as dynamic as they were in their peak? Maybe not, but I still think it's going to be fun. So, yeah, I'm still rocking with Mahomes as my QB1.
Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill on the field, higher completion percentage, more yards per pass attempt, higher passer rating. Your wide receivers are gaining more separation with Tyreek Hill on the field.
Which makes sense, right?
It all makes sense, but does it matter for fantasy? I think marginally enough to edge Allen out as QB1.
I think it's also important to wait a little bit here because the Chiefs have some other moves coming. They have 2 first-round picks. They have 2 second-round picks. While it's not an elite receiver class, I think you can get some really good players at the end of the first round. We've talked about a couple of these guys on the show. Chris Olave. I don't think Garrett Wilson will fall that far. Jameson Williams from Alabama. We'll see about Treylon Burks and Drake London. But they're guys in this class that if the Chiefs take them at 29, I'll feel excited about, and I'll get back into the offense being really, really good. So I'm okay with that. I want to talk about Marquez Valdes-Scantling and JuJu Smith-Schuster and their current dynasty value because I find it fascinating, Kate. But before we do that, let's tell you guys about Built Bar. This time of year, almost everybody has given up on their New Year's resolutions, but not us. We are sticking to ours to eat better thanks to Built Bar. Most Built Bars only contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to your average candy bar that is 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. They've got so many great flavors, including mint brownie, coconut almond, and the new flavor this month is white chocolate cookies and cream. They are all delicious, and they've got new flavors coming out all the time. If you think you have an idea for a good flavor, let them know. They might make it. They've made flavors for us before. So go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, Kate, let's talk about Marquez Valdes-Scantling and JuJu Smith-Schuster, and we might as well talk a little bit about Mecole Hardman as well. First and foremost, without talking about rankings, which one do you want for the 2022 season?
JuJu.
It's that easy for you.
Maybe I'm literally just blinded, but just as a reminder to everybody, JuJu Smith-Schuster is not with the Steelers anymore. I'm a huge JuJu Smith-Schuster fan, and that's because I've spent the years watching him, and I think that he is hands down one of the he's a playmaker. He's a reliable wide receiver. I think everybody looks back to the fumble that cost them the playoffs a couple of years ago, but all in all, when you're in need of a first down, I don't know that there are a ton of wide receivers that I'd want to throw to outside of JuJu. He's just a very solid, dependable target, and I think Patrick Mahomes is going to see that. We've already seen the ceiling is where did he rank in 2018? Wide receiver 5?
Yeah, around there, right? He had that massive season playing opposite of Antonio Brown. This one's tricky for me, Kate, because in some cases I believe with you. I side with you because JuJu has been the more productive receiver in the career. He's the guy they went out and got first. He's going to be playing in the slot. But my gut tells me to follow the money here, right? They gave Marquez Valdes-Scantling 3 years, $30 million with $18 million guaranteed. When you compare that to JuJu's deal, which is like $3 million guaranteed, and it's really like a 1 year, $5 or $6 million deal, it tells you that they believe Valdes-Scantling is the better player, and he's probably going to be the guy making plays down the field. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if by the time we get to redraft season and by the time we get closer to the NFL season, if all of these guys are a little bit overrated. Even Mecole Hardman, who is currently wide receiver, I believe, 64. Wide receiver 64. Valdes-Scantling, wide receiver 77. That'll jump up a bunch. But wouldn't be surprised if all of these guys are a tad overrated.
Okay, so in the last few seasons, all right, we've seen Marquez Valdes-Scantling obviously be playing playing behind Devante Adams, and yet he still never really clearly emerged as his
Correct.
own team's wide receiver too. It's not that they had a very competitive,
very fair point.
That concerns me 100%. He played 59 games over the last 4 years. And Marcus, he has had 8 total wide receiver 1 performances. 8 total throughout his career so far. And that's playing across from Devante Adams, which
with Aaron Rodgers,
we can say we can attribute all of JuJu Smith-Schuster's success to Antonio Brown. Why wasn't Marquez Valdes-Scantling doing the same thing opposite Devante Adams? That's what I don't get.
And maybe that's the reason why Valdes-Scantling left, because it sounds like the Packers made a very similar offer, but maybe MVS just wanted a different quarterback, one that maybe trusted him more, gave him more opportunities, and that's why he went with Mahomes. I don't know. It's something to
We've
at least
seen
think about.
JuJu like riddled with injuries, and he's just been, a more productive and a more high-end wide receiver. Like, the ceiling is higher. I think the floor is higher. I just I don't really
I think that he's
understand.
certainly the safer option. Like, I think we've talked about this before, but like, would 70 catches for 1,000 yards be shocking for you this year for JuJu? Absolutely not. But I just don't know if he has the ceiling of Marquez Valdes-Scantling, right? Couldn't you see Valdes-Scantling having, just kind of developing to the deep threat receiver and being the guy that scores 9 touchdowns and that kind of stuff?
I mean, I can see JuJu Smith-Schuster doing that. So here's the thing. We're gonna have Marquez Valdes-Scantling turning 28 this year. 28. Like, how often do we see the age 28 breakout for a wide receiver? JuJu Smith-Schuster's already broken out. He's been riddled with injury. He's been on a crap offense. He's been with a quarterback that can't throw further than 5 yards down the field. He'll be turning 26 this year. He's 2 years younger than Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Like, their dynasty value is not even comparable to me. I'm just so enraged by this conversation.
All right, so
I'm
here
gonna
we go.
walk off.
Here we go. We got a bet then. How about a Twitter avatar bet between JuJu Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdes-Scantling? The winner gets to pick the other's Twitter profile picture for a week.
Okay.
Deal?
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah,
And
I'll
like
take
I
MVS here. I like JuJu
yeah.
though. I think JuJu's going to be a really good NFL player for them. I just don't know if the production's going to match his importance. That's all.
People are so goofy. You're a goof.
That's a good show today. We got into some heated debates. I know people probably don't hear us argue enough. So there you go, guys. Enjoy. We argued about Waddle, Tua, Tyreek, JuJu. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm
all right.
stressed after this podcast.
Yeah, that's
My
good.
Lord.
That means we just had a good show. So
Yeah.
that is it for today's show. On Monday, I'm saying to our listeners right now, Monday, we're talking about Jahan Dotson from Penn State. We've been meaning to do this for multiple weeks now, but NFL news keeps getting in the way. Monday, a Jahan Dotson deep dive, where you should be looking to draft him in your rookie drafts. What's his upside? What's his player comp? All that stuff coming up on Monday's show. You can follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Check us out on YouTube at Locked On Dynasty. You can follow Kate at FF Ball Blast. I'm at Marcus _Mosher. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.